Okay, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iori Folaring. We're still in the theme of, coming on Saturday to the 100th day of grappling with COVID-19. And, let's just start off, jump in with both feet. Let's take Mr. Sonny Aliu. You see, this is something that the doctor was telling us about. You have this habit, you do this, and they say, take your hands away from your face. So there's so much that we have to learn. We have to learn a new way of living, a new way of behaving. Even those unconscious movements and body actions, talk about body language, can actually be consequential. Anyhow, back to the point. Sonny Aliu is the national coordinator of the task force on COVID-19. And let's just listen to him as he's sort of expatiating on the guidelines, the fresh guidelines, shall we say.
All places of worship must sign up to full compliance with all aspects of non-pharmaceutical interventions required to protect the public from COVID-19, including but not limited to 1, ensuring the supply of running water and soap/alcohol sanitizers at entry and exit points and in all high-contact locations, including bathrooms. 2, worshippers must sanitize their hands before entry. 3, worshippers must have temperature checks before entry, and the supervision and enforcement of this will be led by the leadership of the various facilities. Use of face masks is mandatory. We strongly discourage all close contacts, including shaking hands, hugging, kissing, handing out of materials, and sharing of worship implements, including prayer mats, musical organs, microphones, etc. After prayer for Fajr, Zuhur, and Asr. Prayers to be shortened to reduce duration of contact between congregations. For Friday prayers, mosques are to open 20 minutes before prayers and close 20 minutes after prayers. The total time for Friday prayers, including sermons, should not exceed an hour. Islamia schools, night vigil, Sunday school, and children activities are to remain suspended. For mosques, only the 5 daily prayers and the Friday prayer services should operate.
Okay. Well, there are quite a number of issues, but as you saw there, Mr. Aliu sort of focused on religious houses because that's, it's quite important. That's the one place where people are going to be meeting. We'll probably be getting most of the people there. Maybe followed closely. I don't know if it is the religious houses that are going to be following the markets very, very closely in terms of where you're going to have a whole lot of people. Now, he spelled out in particular the conditions that unconditionally must be signed up to. Yesterday, we actually, we did a bit of this in the sense that Reverend Dominic called in and had his, he had his comments on, some of the new guidelines. Now, we have today 2 gentlemen, Reverend Dr. John Kome, who's the General Overseer of Christian Center International in Lagos. Good morning, Dr. Kome. And thank you very much for...
Good morning, Mr. Abba. How are you today?
I'm very fine, thank you. Yori here. Thank you very much for joining us. And good morning, Imam Abdulaziz Al-Maruf Onike, Nasrullahi Fati Society. Good morning, sir.
Nasrullahi Fati, popularly known as NASFAT.
Popularly known as NASFAT. We're glad to have you both. Thank you very much, sir. Let me kick off with you, Imam. The new procedures, shall we say, that must be signed up to, surely you buy into it. You buy into that totally.
Okay. I can't hear you. I can't understand what you are saying. You have not, what procedure are you talking about?
Oh dear, I'm sorry. I thought you saw Mr. Sonny Aliu or heard him. He's the National Coordinator Task Force for COVID-19, and he was explaining the conditions, and I'll just go over them, paraphrasing them, that look, unconditionally, the guidelines originally put out by the task force, it's not new, but he now says it's unconditional. Now that we're loosening up, society a bit in a regulated sort of way, worshippers can join, but mosques and churches must sign up agreement to these conditionalities. One. Two, there shall be non-negotiable aspects to it. Face masks must be worn. There shall be, the proper distancing, the proper social distancing. There shall be, washing of hands, sanitizing hands. So that whole thing, maybe you would have heard about it, but those are enough. There will be masks. There will be face masks. That is what.
Thank you so much. In addition to that, because we have studied the guideline from the SCDC, the Connecticut Law Party is not a local society. We are present in about 344 locations all over the world. We have drawn up our own guideline, which will be number 3, we under the guideline to be given by SCDC and by each state that our society have branches. Natural Law Party, in acting proactively, we set up a guideline that will be under the SCDC and each state guideline on the opening of our mosque. Because what is uppermost in our mind is the safety of our people. We abide by all the directives. We have even gone extra miles in our own way. We have gone extra miles. We have drawn up a guideline, Natural Law Party, for all our society to operate in a good health condition when the government relaxes the lockdown. And this thing, all these guidelines will be under whatever guideline the SCDC has set and whatever guideline each state in which we have branches has set. As I said, they are talking about face mask, they are talking about sanitizer. We have gone beyond that.
And even the distancing. And even the distancing.
I will read out our guideline out to you to let you know that it's even more comprehensive than that.
Okay.
That's why we are.
I hear you, sir. Fine, sir. Thank you very much. It's great to hear that, because that was the question, really. It's not so much do you have an issue with it. I wanted your comment on it. That, look, and you are saying that NASFAT is fully prepared. Maybe we'll get into the details later on, because Muslims perform ablutions anyway, but then there's an ablution is not a sanitization. People they talk about must also involve sanitizing. So I don't know whether when they finished the ablutions, maybe you'll talk to us about that later on. Maybe they shall then, after all they've completed the religious injunctions of the ablutions, maybe they shall then go ahead and sanitize, or maybe I was misunderstanding it. We'll talk about that later on and other details. So thank you for that opening gambit, Imam Abdul Aziz. Now, Reverend Dr. John Kome, coming to you, sir. Let me have your impressions on these guidelines, which are not strange to you either. First of all religious houses must sign up to agreements to them and then comply with all of them.
Yes, thank you so much. You see, I think the whole thing is still, to me, a watershed. You see, the church, I believe also, the church has guidelines. They too have set up their guidelines to be able to control, the mode of worship in each church. But to me, I think it is not ripe enough to open up worship centers. Because, for instance, you discover that the guideline is that, okay, if churches should open, worshipers should be between 20 and 55 worshipers. Now, even if all of the WHO COVID-19 guidelines are met, the mode of worship will make it a little bit difficult to keep to these guidelines. So I think before the worship centers, either churches or mosques should be open. I think more should be done before these churches are open. For instance, there are churches that are up to about 5,000 to 10,000 worshipers. No matter what social distancing, temperature checks, washing of hands and sanitizers, how do you think that 10,000 people divided into 20 or 55 can be able to do worship on Sundays, even if it is only 1 hour for each session? How possible do we see this? Do you know, as I was driving to the office this morning, I discovered that, if you wouldn't mind, half of the people I saw out there are not even wearing the face mask anymore.
Which is
So the
something.
moment they open the worship center, I'm seeing chaos. I'm seeing chaos.
Okay, but Dr. Kome, what do you think of the idea, the whole notion that these are not usual times, and we are, as it were, opening up society, so to speak, under duress because we don't have a choice. We can't actually, in trying to prevent one ill, inflict ourselves with a greater ill. So the idea of, look, because these are not usual times, the churches were getting by, the mosques were getting by with technology. They were actually conducting services with technology via Skype, via Zoom. What do you think of the idea that perhaps religious practices might need to be, it might need to be considered that we might have to adapt our practices, our services? You will be the people that will teach me that God sees the heart, not necessarily, never mind the voice. So those kind of things, would you be surprised if people expected that, look, church leaders, mosque leaders will come up with strategies that would involve the technology with the limited number of people that must come to what has been referred to as normal services. What normal services are, maybe there can be a bit more explanation about that. But I imagine that in the case of Christians, it will be Sunday services. So the question basically, sir, is that combining technology with these new guidelines.
I'm happy to say that at the moment, all over the world, we are really experiencing abnormal moments everywhere. And I want to say this, there are guidelines. Whatever guidelines the government gives, the church leaders, the Christian Association of Nigeria, PFN and other Christian blocs, they too have put their own guidelines on ground, how to be able to manage worshiper. But you see, the mode of worship, like you rightly said, differs. For instance, the Orthodox churches, their mode of worship, with their mode of worship, they can control and they can be able to even follow the guidelines. But you see, churches like the Pentecostals that do a lot of dancing, a lot of moving around, shaking of board and all that, I wouldn't know how a pastor is going to control them. You see, for instance, let me add to this. During the guidelines that were recently given, the federal government said that children should not be allowed in the. Why? Because you cannot control children.
Okay.
But you can as well control adults.
Okay, Dr. Kome, I'm going to interrupt you because I have to go on a break, but please stay with us, and the same thing to Imam Abdulaziz. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. As we approach 100 days of grappling with COVID-19, we're looking at how far we've come, and now that at this juncture we're sort of, reapproaching the whole idea of opening up society. We're looking at some of the regulations, guidelines that have been put out, and we have with us Imam Abdulaziz Al-Maruf Onike, who is the Chief Missioner at NASFAT, as well as Dr. John Kome, General Overseer of Christian Center International, Lagos. Both gentlemen have been giving us their impressions. But let me go cut away for the moment and go to Prince Anofiu Elegushi, who is the Commissioner for Home Affairs in Lagos, and he's speaking here about agreements that have been reached with religious bodies.
Looking at the possibility of reopening the religious houses. We had one also with the leaders of the two faiths. I want to tell you categorically that at that meeting, the possibility of reopening the religious house was ruled out totally. That they cannot take such responsibility of ensuring that only 20 or 50 people, are praying behind them. Like an imam now, Imam said, I don't know what is going on at my back. Immediately, I'm leading a prayer. So if more than 20 people or 50 people are staying at my back, who is going to take the responsibility? So they ruled out totality the issue of reopening the religious house until we have a clear coast for us to do so.
Okay, so there you hear it from the Commissioner for Home Affairs in Lagos, Prince Anofiu Elegushi. So coming straight to you, Chief Missioner of NASFAT, what your comments, please?
I was at that meeting, and what informed our decision was that the safety of our people is paramount to us. The first consideration to be the safety of our people. We asked them a question on that day. I was at the meeting with the governor, the virtual meeting, and we said, can anybody give us an assurance that the number of cases that we have recorded has reduced, or the curve is flattened, or it has gone up? Nobody can tell us on that, could tell us on that day. As I'm talking to you this morning, we have recorded 10,819 cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. And we have, they have active cases of 7,066. Some people that have been hospitalized before, they have discharged 3,239 from them, and we have recorded 214 deaths. Evidently, the number keeps on increasing. And we tell them we tell them, and we continue to tell them as Muslims, that we can observe our salat anywhere. If the coast is not clear, the objective of Sharia, the objective of Islam is the preservation of life, preservation of intellect, preservation of family, preservation of property. And this thing, number one, preservation of life. If you are a leader and you are praying in a mosque, you are the leader of a mosque, and you lose 2 or 3 of your members to a disease, then the other members of the community of the mosque will be scared. They will not come again. Nasrullah Party, as a proactive society, even before the government started the lockdown, we moved most of our programs online. We have been connecting with our people spiritually online in the last 2.5 months. We have series of programs for them. And in the case of Salat, that is one of the things that Allah has blessed Islam with. You can observe, in spite of the fact that brotherhood is enjoined in Islam, communal activity is enjoined in Islam, but if your health is challenged, if your life is challenged, you can observe your Salat at home. Even Eid al-Fitr, we encourage people to do it at home with their family. What Muslim leaders are saying is that if the government cannot guarantee our safety for now, how can they guarantee our safety when each mosque or each worship place will require about 4 thermometers, and we are made to understand that each thermometer will cost about 50,000 naira. They are talking about limiting children from coming to the mosque or coming to the church. Even the National Party has taken it up on himself that any child under 10 will not be allowed if we are asked to open eventually, because we also believe that we cannot be in a perpetual lockdown. But the Muslim leaders are still of the opinion that we should tarry a while. If the government goes ahead, because we understand that they are under intense pressure. We know that government is under intense pressure to open up the worship places. If they don't have choice and they open up, Nasrullah Society, we have gone ahead by setting up our own internal guideline, which will be under the guideline set up by NCDC.
So,
as I said earlier on,
so for now, Imam, sorry, sir, Chief Missioner. So for now, you, as the commissioner was saying there, it's like, would you say the Muslim leadership in Lagos are saying we should shelve the idea of opening up mosques for now? Is that the bottom line?
Because it's against reasoning. When you look at the case today, 10,819 cases. In the last 24 hours, they have not recorded anyone. But some of us are monitoring it. I think the thing is reducing. Somebody will have said, okay, let's take the risk. But the thing keeps on increasing. So some people are now pressurized the government to open up. When they open up, when they meet us in the market, when they meet us in schools, when they meet us in the larger community, that's our fear. But if the government can go ahead by providing all the tools that are necessary to ensure all the PPE, The churches, the mall can provide the face mask. I'm talking about thermometer to gauge
I hear you.
temperature.
So
How many
am I reading it? Sorry, sir.
provide-
Sorry, Chief Missioner. Am I reading it right when I say that, well, the Muslim leadership in Lagos is saying, tarry a while, no to reopening mosques for now?
The coast is not clear yet, except they can tell us that the co-op is flattened.
Okay, no, they are not about to say that because it's not true.
I cannot see that at this moment. The
So-
natural line, but said if the government decides to open up, we will toe the line and we will put up extra guideline, and we have done that.
I
share it with the audience.
I see.
Extra guidelines.
It's just that the commissioner was saying on camera there, that the Islamic leadership in Lagos had said a categorical no to opening up.
He said the truth. He said, we asked them a question that can you assure us that the co-op is flattened? Can you assure us that the cases have gone down? Cases have reduced. As I'm telling you this morning, the current data that I have in front of me now is 10,819. And how many people have presented themselves for test? How many people?
All right.
We are under tested.
Okay. Okay, Chief Missioner. Let me go to Dr. Kome. And Dr. Kome, hopefully you've been hearing all that's been going on. You heard the Commissioner for Home Affairs in Lagos. What are your thoughts about opening up religious houses? You started by telling us that, look, as far as you're concerned, churches are also able to make guidelines for themselves. Are you in favor of opening up the churches immediately as per the federal government relaxation?
Not exactly. I started by saying that opening of churches or religious worship center, as for now, should be discouraged.
Okay.
Because it will be chaotic. Now, listen, don't forget, like the missioner said, over 10,000 cases in Nigeria. We are the third now in Africa. As of yesterday, 241 cases in one day. Don't forget, Nigeria, we have not reached the peak of infection yet. And I believe strongly that even if the federal government provides the personal protective equipment, would the government send their agencies to monitor compliance? One thing is for the BPE equipment to be given out, but what about compliance by the worshippers themselves or by the priest, the pastor, the reverend, the imam? How would they be able to control the people? Like I said earlier, today, if you go out now, not many people are wearing face masks.
Yeah.
When we started, everybody seems to be wearing. But as the day goes by, people are no more complying. So for me, I think, like the commissioner said, it is not possible for now.
Okay.
That is the bitter truth.
Therefore, you also
in addition to that,
yes, sir.
The proponent of the opening up of worship areas, what they are banning, the reason they are giving us is that if you could open up the banks, if you could open up the market, is it the dead that cannot keep them in the market, we come and keep them in the church? We are telling them that the possibility of two or three of my members meeting at the same time in a bank or in a market is very, very rare. The possibility of all of them meeting in my mosque is high.
Okay.
If one of the elders, one of the imams is imam contract this COVID-19, it will spread, and the news will go around that they contract the disease in the mosque. People are now saying if they could open up the schools, if they could open up the market, if the death cannot kill them in the market, it cannot kill them. I'm responsible for my people. I'm responsible for my. I'm not responsible for those who are going to the market. I'm responsible for those who are behind me. And the chance of three of my members meeting at the same time in the market, in the bank, is very remote. But if I to open up now, all of them will meet. Before you know it, they will hug themselves.
You can't do that. Yeah. And that's absolute no. Thank you very much, Chief Missioner. Hold it, please. I've got to go on another break. We'll be right back. welcome back. And we're speaking with Reverend Dr. John Kome, General Overseer, Christian Center International, Lagos, and Imam Abdulaziz Al-Maruf Onike, Chief Missioner at NASFAT. Both gentlemen are speaking, about how their religious houses, are concerned about this. And both of them are leaning in the direction of safety, that it's better to tarry a while until government can give unequivocal assurances. And I don't think anybody's going to be doing that right now. So they're saying if that is the case, then they need to err on the side of safety. And that's the theme we've been addressing. So, gentlemen, I think I've heard you, our viewers have heard you, and there are other aspects to this as well. So, for instance, Dr. Kome, I'm sure you'll be on all fours with the whole matter of absolutely not for children. Don't let the children back to school yet, following the same line of reasoning that you've been sharing with us, right? Dr. Kome?
Incidentally, also, I have a school also, and just like the church, I wouldn't want anything to happen to my pupils, to my students, to my children. Their safety is more important than even education. So I believe also that the school should, for now, remain closed until the coast is clear. You see, like the missionary rightly said, we can guarantee, our people, our church members or worshipers, but we cannot guarantee people in the market.
Indeed.
And when people mix up in the market or in the social media, they can bring this disease, contact disease, and infect their children.
Yeah.
And when their children come to classes, they may also affect their mates, because children are not like adults.
So
you can't control them.
So you're in agreement with government on that. And before I come to the chief missioner on the same issue, because I'm sure there are a lot of Muslim, or shall we say Islamic schools, not necessarily in terms of just teaching, the Quran and Islam, but set up, by the Islamic bodies for general education. But before that, Mazi Okoroa, for good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our reverence on Skype.
Sure.
So you see, if you follow what the federal government said as of yesterday, that 1 hour per service is achievable. Now, let's say, for example, a worship center, you use 3 hours per service. You can spread it to meet up the number the federal government said you should accommodate per service. It's achievable. Now, that's what we call time management. Time management, because if you look at the Bible, you see that Jesus Christ, when he came, the Lord, the commandments were up to 600 and what happened? Jesus Christ called, so it was too long. He summarized everything to only 10 commandments. That's what we have now. And even when the apostles asked him now, what do we do in terms of prayer? He said, our Father. Our Father covered the whole thing from Genesis to what? To Revelation. Now you ask yourself, what do we do in order to meet up the federal government directive so that we will not spread this COVID? Because according to the coordinator, he said, the longer you stay in the environment, in a place, the easier you do what? You make contact. So 1 hour is second. Now, if you come back home as Nigeria, what we're supposed to do, I want to ask our religious leaders, is it not necessary that even you want to say the children, produce a pamphlet or a handlet for the children, at least their parents will go back home and make use of their Bible and do the Sunday school for the children at home.
Okay, Reverend. I beg your pardon, not Reverend, Mazi. Okay, Mazi, thank you very much for calling in. Let me go to the Chief Missioner for the other question that I was asking about schools now.
Let me reply that, Okorako.
Sure.
Okorako is on the instance that we can do worship for 1 hour. Now, you see, that is not achievable, ladies and gentlemen. You see, because I said earlier, not every church is small. There are churches that are big. How many people will do service 1 hour?
Okay, you jumped in, Dr. Kome, but I wanted to go to the Chief Missioner. But, well, since you jumped in, by all means, it's like I'll use your period for him later on to balance the matter. Continue, sir, Dr. Kome.
Yes, Okorako was trying to say that the government has allowed 1 hour worship. It's not a matter of how many minutes or hours people should worship. As a matter of fact, wherever you are, you can worship God. You can worship God in your home. although the Bible says we should not forsake the gathering of the brethren together, but the situation we are at the moment is not the normal situation. So you can worship God at home.
Sure.
Maybe if because of maybe the offerings and whatever they will have to give to run the church, yes, you can give your offering online. You can do worship online. You can pray you can do anything online. We are discussing here now online. Churches have been doing their services online even before now.
Okay.
Mosques have been doing
Okorafor was really harking back to the question that I also asked about perhaps there could be an integration of technology and, in terms of meeting up with the guidelines. But let me not spend too much time keeping Mr. George waiting. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Uncle Yori, I'm so impressed by the presentation of these two clerics you have before us. They have very sound reasoning, but this is not a reflection of the average cleric, because they are the ones putting pressure on the government to relax this lockdown or these controls. I'm so surprised that we have people like this who think in this way among them. We have to be reasonable. It is not about going to worship centers. It's about being godly.
Okay.
So what they are saying, I'm in total sync with what these two people are saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can, the regulations, if the cases are on the rise, what is the justification to reopen places of worship where people close, they get very close to each other, they shake hands in their modes of worship, they sing.
Okay.
And when you sing, it's the same thing as talking.
Sneezing.
And we all know that this virus comes mainly from the mouth.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's not, even if you mix in the market, the danger is not as high as when you are in a place of worship where you are very close to each other, you are singing
and you are enclosed
at close range.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. George. Really appreciate your calling in. Thank you very much, Mr. George. To come to the Chief Missioner, I wanted to get your perspective. I imagine it won't be too different from what you've said already. I'm talking about schools now, that schools should not open yet at all.
Before I talk about the school opening, let me make a point. If the truth must be told, and an Arabic proverb, say the truth, even if it is bitter. Some people have allowed the pecuniary gains to becloud their sense of reasoning. I told you I was at that meeting with the governor. The religious leader said that they have workers to pay in their worship place of worship. If they are in lockdown perpetually, how will they pay salary? Somebody mentioned that, and I can recall vividly. And Commissioner Debussy will testify to that. We shouldn't allow the pecuniary gain to becloud our sense of reasoning. We are there as religious leaders because we have followers. If you don't have followers, who are you leading? And that is that about that, so that we don't beat about the bush.
Okay.
People have allowed pecuniary gain to becloud their sense of reasoning.
All right.
It's not the spiritual development of their members that is the uppermost in their mind. It is what they are going to make out of the members. And we tell them in Natural Life Party that wherever you are, we'll get connected with you spiritually, and we have been doing that. What we do will be, whether we donate to the church, whether we donate to the mosque, we donate. People are doing their businesses online. Coming back to operating
one moment. Sorry, Missioner, Chief Missioner, one moment, please. Let me quickly interject a phone call from Joshua in Irewale, and I'll come back to you to continue. Good morning, Mr. Joshua.
Okay, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
I greet the clerics, and I want to particularly thank the Muslim missioner there. He has spoken so very well on the side of life first. And I think that should echo and connect to everyone. Life first. We need to save lives first. People need to be alive to even think beyond this moment. So I really want to thank them. And I want to say that to the government, because they are listening, they should allow whoever these religious leaders that are pressuring government to open religious places, they should allow them to take full responsibility for their members. They should allow them to take full responsibility for their members, because some of them are just thinking about gathering and collecting money.
Actually, as you remember, Mr. Joshua, sorry, as you remember, as you might recall, Mr. Joshua, the part of it is that religious houses must actually sign up to be on board with the provisions such as the two clerics are talking about now. So this whole matter of taking responsibility, they must sign up to conform, as it were, to guidelines, just as NASFAT has said that it also has its own arrangements, which will be under the guidelines already provided by NCDC. And they think that in some cases they even go beyond.
Quickly, they should remember that religious leaders are at the forefront of denying that there's no COVID-19. Some of them are denying that COVID-19 does not exist.
Okay, Mr. Joshua, thank you very much. I've got to interrupt you here. I appreciate your call. Thank you very much, sir, but you understand we're managing 3 live situations. Coming back to you, Chief Missioner, because I think you still have a bit more time. Yes, Chief.
Talking about opening up our schools.
Yes.
It is everything, the reflection of our level of development. People are doing online courses even before the advent of COVID-19. If we care for the lives of our children, you can ask them to continue with their online education for some time until normalcy returns. Some of us have been product of distance learning, Open University, attended the National Open University of Nigeria, and the kind of exposure they gave me, the brick and block classroom, I couldn't have gotten it there. What I'm saying is that some schools, because they are being creative now, they are opening so many possibilities to their pupils. My children at home now, they know the time they have their teachers online, and they have not lost any part of their curricula. What I'm saying in essence is that the children will not be able to take care of themselves if the schools are opened up now. It's going to be dangerous for the safety of our children. If they can stay at home for 2-3 months and they are able to do some of the things online, it is because of our level of development. You don't need to move about to acquire education.
Okay, sir. One moment, sir, while I take this other call coming in from Yakub, who I hear is back in Dokwemo. Good morning, Mr. Yakub.
Yes. I'm back in Dokwemo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
And then good morning to the clerks.
Yeah, please continue.
Shivjori, you see, I really appreciate the 2 girls in the studio this morning.
Actually, they're in their own, they're at home. You understand?
Yes,
but I know what you mean.
In the studio because we can be able to feel them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shivjori, you see, I love what George says. Because if it is truly that the case is going up, and then we are seeing the number going up on daily basis, what is now the essence of reopening the church and the mosque? The truth is this: you can pray in your house, and then God Almighty will still answer you. Let me give you a typical example. Shivjori, I can tell you for free, we don't even have the police that can monitor the church and the mosque if they really open up the mosque. Because if you say that we should be going to the mosque, maybe on Friday, Shivjori, we are do pray here in Agege, especially in Marcus. If you come to the Marcus, you will see a lot of people coming there. If such place open, Shivjori, what's really going to happen? And then I want to use this opportunity to tell especially Lagos State and Ogun State, they should never reopen the school because we don't even have palliative to protect those children.
Okay,
because
thank you very much, Mr. Yakub. I've got to interrupt you. Forgive me. I know you got a lot more, but thank you very much for contributing what you did contribute. Back to you, gentlemen, Reverend Dr. Kome and Imam Abdul Aziz. Here we are. Both of you, my interpretation is that both of you are also saying we should make haste slowly until we really know that we've got this thing beaten, which we haven't for now. There's no sense in opening schools as the numbers are rising. I mean, opening schools, or certainly not schools, but even with that extra human urge of wanting to worship, that can also be done differently, because these are different times. Even though you, Dr. Kome, had taken exception to some aspects of it, but it looks like they're non-negotiable. There will be face masks. Otherwise, those religious houses will not be allowed to open.
The government said that between 20 and 55 people can
That's right.
as well be guaranteed worship.
Yes.
Do you believe that? You accept that too?
No, it's not what I accept, sir. I'm asking you your comments on what has been said, that it's a way to be safe. It's the way to be scientifically safe. If we have a reduced number like that, I see that I've lost you. If we, in case you're still able to hear by some means, if you are able to hear, then what the reduced numbers would seem to be indicating is that we can take better control. We can have the distancing required. As you yourself might have seen, even the Sistine Chapel in Rome, they've reopened, but under strict conditions. It's nowhere like how it used to be before. 1, you shall wear masks. 2, there shall be maintaining of distancing. And 3, there shall be no touching. Okay, Dr. Kome is still away. As I was saying to Dr. Kome, these are different times. Perhaps people are going to have to, and by the way, Dr. Kome, you're not the first person to take some slight exception. The same thing happened with our dear friend, Reverend Dominic, yesterday. He also had spoken about the masks, but, that's something that, no doubt we'll be engaging with. But we still have you with us, Chief Missioner, talking about with us on Skype. We still have you with us on Skype. These are definitely different times. What is meant, I imagine that will be another point of discussion, what is meant by normal services, the word normal, because of course, some people might think of, with the Muslims, Friday being a normal service. I think the Salat prayers, those are the prayers, the obligatory prayers. They're not obligatory, they're mandatory. Muslims must pray 5 times a day. Some people come to do those in the mosque, if they can, if they're around a mosque. But you're saying that that's no problem. These can be done at home, right? Now, what would normal prayer be, since there will always be one religious program or the other in both mosques and churches? Chief Missioner, are you still with me? Am I having a problem with the Chief Missioner too? Okay, no problem.
I'm here.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Here.
So
there's nothing like normal. There's nothing like normal or abnormal.
No abnormal. Just normal services.
There's nothing like that in Islam. The word normal is contextual. In Islam, can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
You can hear me?
Yes,
the
we can.
Activities of every Muslim is divided into 5. We have what you call the obligatory aspect of his life. We have what you call the recommended aspect of his life. We have what you call the merely permissible aspect of his life. We have what you call discouraged aspect of his life. We have prohibited aspect of his life.
Okay.
That is how the life of every Muslim is compartmentalized.
Okay.
And there's none of them that you can trade in your life for. There's none of them you can say, okay, because
so there's none that is mandatory. Okay.
Bad weather condition can make you to pray at home, not to talk of the chance of risking your life. If there's a bad weather condition, you will agree with me that Islam is not a religion per se, it's a way of life.
Okay.
It's a way of life. What do I mean? When they make call to prayer now, they add to it. So in English, it means pray at your home.
Okay.
The caller to prayer will speak for, and we add to it. So what was the origin of that thing? The origin was that there was bad weather condition. It rained heavily, and people could not come to mosque. But the Prophet instructed them, when you made call to prayer, pray at your home to it. They are talking about bad weather condition. They are not talking about, because they felt that people could sleep, they could fall down. Pray at your home, not to talk of the possibility of people contracting diseases by having contact.
Okay, this is very informative. Chief Missioner, this is very, very informative. Thank you very much. I have Gabriel in the UK wanting to join the conversation. Good morning, Gabriel.
Good morning, Okufala.
Thank you very much for calling in. Good morning, sir.
This is my first time getting.
Oh, we're delighted to have you with us. Quickly, please.
Yeah, this is my first time getting through to you.
We're delighted to have
I'm
you.
very happy. I'm very happy for inviting me.
Sure.
Now, I know I'm calling from UK, and we have a problem of this plague in UK. However, I will say that we need to put our spiritual very important, because in UK the number is increasing, but they have forgotten their God. We should remember our God is the one who saved us.
Okay. I thought you wanted to relate to our relaxing of the conditions, here, and how we shall engage with this. That's what we're talking about here. People that have forgotten their God, we can go easy on that. Did you have impressions? Did you have, opinions? Did you have commentary on what we are trying to do here?
Yes, I do follow your program.
Okay, sir.
I do follow it. But what I'm saying is that we should not forget our God.
Okay.
Our spiritual is very important.
Yes.
We should not speak to our spiritual leader wrongly. We put too much pressure on them. Even those people who believe in science, who have every technology, they still going through. They still haven't got vaccination. So, for example, in Nigeria, it's God who see people. It's not science.
Okay, but are you in agreement? Are you in agreement, sir, Gabriel? Are you in agreement with, full closing down the schools, continuing to close down the schools for now, and also if churches or mosques are going to reopen, it'll be under the conditions that you have been hearing about? You're in agreement with that, aren't you? You can understand it.
I'm in agreement of closing because of safety of the children.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling in, sir. We really appreciate hearing your voice from the UK. And do stay safe, as we are trying to do locally here. Coming back to you, Dr. Kome, well, I wanted to go, maybe I want, apparently Dr. Kome is not back yet. Okay, the phones are still open, and the Chief Missioner was explaining to us that there's a whole lot that can be done in spite of these conditions that look as if they are limiting. He was explaining that they're not really limiting at all. It depends on your state of mind. What is the frame of your mind? With a can-do attitude, I was getting the impression from the Chief Missioner that so very much can be achieved, because it's not going to be forever, and that there will be no dropping out, shall we say, of religious obligations as a result of that, of these limitations. Am I paraphrasing you correctly, Chief Missioner?
Right. I interface with my members on a regular basis. I interface with them. I discuss with them. I get connected to them on a regular basis. We learn up a lot of programs. It will interest you to note that I'm even busier now than pre-COVID-19. I'm busier now because I have to be online regularly. I have to give them prayers. I have to give them lectures. As I said, there are so many bridges to be crossed. All the places of worship are open. Apart from the issue of resources, how many mosques, how many churches can provide those? Number one. Number two.
I can continue, Chief Missioner. I can hear you. Dr. Kome is having a bit of a technical problem.
I'm talking about the number one problem, the resources that every place of worship needs to work in line with this guideline. Most churches, most mosques don't have that resources. Number two, the human factor. How will you solve somebody who have not seen themselves in the mosque, in the church for about 3 months, not to be ecstatic when they see themselves for the first time?
Exactly.
How do we stop them? I've not seen you in the last 2 months in my church, and I see you now. Before I know it, I will have jumped at you. I will have hugged you before I will realize. Number three, the enforcement aspect of it. We are in Nigeria. We are not running down our country. The enforcement agency, they are not there yet. How many police, how many soldiers, how many civil defense corps members? We go to every nook and cranny of Nigeria to arrest to arrest the lawbreakers. How many of them? How many mosques do we have in the street? How many churches do we have in remote areas? Who are the people to enforce? People know they are not turning they are just closing their eyes to it.
Thank you very much, Chief Missioner. I've got to interrupt here because we've almost completely run out of time. So thank you very much, Chief Missioner. And also thank you very much to Reverend Dr. John Kome. I was thanking the Chief Missioner there of NASFAT. And I'm also thanking Reverend Dr. John Kome, General Overseer Christian Center International, as we bring that conversation to a close. And also thank you to guys who were able to get to us on the phone. And just before we go, yesterday I was saying that we hadn't heard an update from the police, but at least I'm talking right now about the dastardly murder of Vera Uwaila. Now the Inspector General of Police has waded into the affair, as you would have seen in the papers, and he has directed the 4th CID to take over investigations. So it's been escalated. That's something also that is very much in the air, and we should be talking about that. But just to let you know, as an update from what I said yesterday, that we hadn't heard from the police, now we can say that the Inspector General of Police has actually escalated. You might have seen this already in the news. So that's our program today. Please join us for a fresh edition tomorrow. I am Yori Fulani. Bye-bye for now.